Hello and welcome to the online safety webinar for teachers, DSLs, parents and carers. And today's topic is the online digital tattoo, the online digital footprint or online reputation, whatever you'd like to call it. But it's the one area of online safety that really perhaps doesn't get covered enough. And so students and children must understand that what they do online has a massive impact on their
Piece is
future.
called digital footprints. Just as our carbon footprints impact our physical environment, our digital footprints can impact our personal livelihood. It's interesting that they call it the World Wide Web because, like foolhardy flies, we all ultimately get trapped. But it's imperative that when we surf, we start using our head to proactively protect and navigate our own social map. Sign in, username, password, click. Whew! Now I'm safe. Not necessarily, because our every interface on a digital device is recorded somewhere, and you better believe there's a price. It is not enumerated in dollars and cents. It's a more constant currency in the form of a digital footprint. When we make our lives public, it's hard to keep a secret. Billions of people access the internet, and not everything gets deleted. Don't quite believe me? Well, let's take a walk down that path and let's see what you learn from your social graph. It's the global mapping of everyone and how they're related. Your friends, your family, the questionable people you've dated. In cyberspace, a visible history of our lives and interests has accumulated. And there are serious consequences for leaving our thoughts and actions ungated. Still not convinced? Well, I've seen it with my own eyes. A young, intelligent high school student ahead of him his whole life. Accepted to an Ivy League school, but had his admission rescinded. Let's just say what was on his profile page could not be commended. And it's not just universities. It can be utilized by inquiring employers. You think they don't do their research? They're quality control voyeurs. Something we view as harmless, freedom of self-expression. From a professional perspective, you'll be fired, no question. Whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, before we upload, download, type on those keys, press enter, we need to slow down. Take time. Think, consider. How will this instant information impact our hopes and our dreams? How could this careless communication be interpreted or released? What's the solution, you ask? How can we really be safe? Well, if there are aspects of our lives we want private, then we should keep it that way. We do not need to post every part of our pedestrian progressions, and we don't have to constantly coexist solely via internet connection. There is a whole world out there. We can hear, see, smell, touch, and taste it. The chain tying you to that screen, antiquated, written in pencil, erase it. And when we do sign in again, we'll be thoughtful, we'll use tact. Because we understand our digital decisions can have a lasting impact. Life has no Apple or Control Z. You can't take everything back. The internet is a remarkable resource, and if we make intelligent choices now, there'll be no need for recourse, especially if we empower ourselves to censor what we enter on our keyboards. Thank you.
That was the wonderful Michelle Clark, and it's interesting. We end up with a situation where you've got this freedom for self-expression and online privacy against this quality controlled voyeurism, which is used by universities and future employers. So what students, children and young adults must understand is what they do online, what they post, what they take, what they send, what they receive can have this impact for their future. So as long as they can actually act and behave appropriately, they'll have nothing to worry about. But unfortunately, within social media, apps, direct messaging, and also gaming, sometimes inappropriate behavior can have this massive impact on their future. It's interesting when you consider this expression digital tattoo that it doesn't need words. Well, of course it doesn't need words, and it was Andy Warhol who said, famous for 15 minutes. Perhaps we should turn that round to say, in this day and age, because of social media, gaming and online interaction with others, that actually we're probably only anonymous for 15 minutes. So as online safety is about behavior and choices, Students must understand that behaving appropriately and making good choices and judgments, and also speaking with their parents, trusted adults and teachers, this will make sure that their online life does not have a negative impact on their future. As I said, digital tattoo is such a good expression to use because it is permanent and it doesn't need words. And like all tattoos, there can be beauty, there can be intrigue or allegiances and beliefs as well as memories. But of course, there can be serious mistakes. And because it has this degree of permanency, that's it forever. So it can have this long-lasting effect on students' lives. And in this day and age of technology, it's the facial recognition that's really come to play. Facial recognition has been around for a long time, and most of us now use facial recognition with our own devices, whether it's logging into a computer or whether using it on your mobile phone. Now, what we have to look at is the fact that facial recognition, therefore photographs and videos of individuals, can be used to discover exactly how many images or videos exist of one individual on the internet. And then the algorithm can be used to decide whether those images or videos may be inappropriate because of the amount of skin that's being shown. So in many pieces of software that are now available for companies and universities and sometimes schools to use, that they can take an image and they can actually then get a name from that image and immediately check all social media and online publications to find out exactly what is known by this future student or employee. That can have wonderful results, but it can also have negative results depending upon how that individual has used social media and all other aspects of the internet. So what is your digital tattoo, your digital footprint? Well, what we must understand here is that your online life could determine your future, because employers, universities can often look at your digital tattoo and decide whether or not to give you an opportunity. So your digital tattoo does include everything you say and do online, including the casual likes and fun photos and comments that a lot of people, young people, do use their devices for, as well as the information that is intentionally posted by that individual, such as resumes, professional profiles, EPQs even. Therefore, everybody, absolutely everybody, should take some time to manage their online reputation. And there's studies done on a regular basis, and it still shows that 70% of employers will use search engines and social media to screen candidates. Now, bear in mind, this could be for 16, 17, 18-year-olds, as well as those individuals who are actually seeking employment after university. What's more, 54% of employers surveyed said that they reconsidered candidates after getting a bad impression. And this brings into play the words, well, it's an individual's impression. It might not be inappropriate to some other people, but it's for that individual to decide what is inappropriate and appropriate. And colleges and universities rely on social media checks to get a better sense of the applicants. Admission officers have agreed that they will use social media and how their individual candidates have used the internet to decide whether or not they should be or are a suitable person for that university. Of course, having a negative online presence is one problem, but having no presence at all is even a bigger red flag. So a lot of advice is don't delete profiles or just make everything private. Use it as you would, but use it appropriately to make sure that your digital tattoo says positive things about you. That is where we go from here. We've all got digital footprints, we've all got digital tattoos. Let's make sure our online life is something to be proud of. So future employers, universities, may decide, and it is a may decide, to actually check an online profile to decide whether or not that candidate is suitable for that place of study or work. So what will they find? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is that possibly the wrong candidate for their position? So what can be seen? Well, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all other aspects of social media and gaming, but also Amazon and eBay. So you can see what actually that individual purchases, or groups that they belong to, or organizations. Future employees search recruits through search engines and social networking sites. I mean, it happens to me a lot, especially when people want to find out whether or not I'm the person to come and speak to a school. I would expect them to carry out Google searches on my name and actually have a look at my blogging, my websites, my LinkedIn. And for that reason, I may get work. So yeah, it's happened to me. And when you start to break it down and look at this digital tattoo, the recent survey, 69% of employers state they've rejected a candidate based on something they saw on social media. And if you actually have a look at the reasons, the vast majority are because they posted inappropriate comments or photos. Here again is the big issue, because it's the word inappropriate. So yes, it does happen, but what is inappropriate? Those are the issues. But of course, it could be the content they may have posted about drinking or drugs, or comments other people may have posted, including them or tagged them in. Negative remarks, poor communication, or discriminatory comments. Or they may have lied about qualifications. This is the issue here, because they've shared confidential information, perhaps, of employers or colleagues. And when I speak to companies, I do speak to human resource departments, and they've actually used this phrase that they might not choose the right candidate, but they won't choose the wrong candidate. That's all because of technology, because they're able now to decide that they won't waste 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years of training on the wrong candidate. So whilst we now appreciate that digital tattoos do exist and software is used to cyber vet individuals who are applying for positions at colleges or places of work, what we must also be aware of, this isn't illegal. It isn't illegal for companies or universities to use software to actually select individuals to come and study or work for them.
Do employers actually look at candidates' social media?
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. They most certainly do. And, I think it's important for everybody out there to realize that everybody right now has some sort of a cyber footprint, and nothing is private, right? Anything you post online through any kind of platform really lives forever out there. And it turns out that employers are actively researching this information to really get some more rounded information about a particular candidate, and they use it for the forces of good, to find out if you're going to be a good fit with their company. But there's also a lot of evidence that they're looking to screen out people if they find things that aren't to their liking, or perhaps display a part of your personality that doesn't really say provocative photos and things like drinking, things of that nature. 76% of recruiters are actively looking at a person's social media presence when they're considering them for a job. And about 70% of them are using that information to dismiss, or have used that information to dismiss candidates from the process. So it is something that is alive. It is happening right now. And I think everybody, first and foremost, needs to be aware of it. And of course, the top reasons for dismissals are provocative and inappropriate photos and commentary about drinking and drugs.
So we know that cyber vetting does exist, and software is used to find out exactly what students and future employees have posted, how they've used social media, what images they've been posting and taking even. So what we must understand is students need to find this way to enhance their public image, to make sure not only are their grades good, but also their social media presence. They must be proud of their online brand, and social media is a powerful tool. For students, it can connect them with professionals, their school alumni, recruiters and potential employees. So first things first, what students must do is make sure they do clean up their social media. And what we must understand, this is about the selection process. This software is to speed up the selection process. It's not illegal, it can be used. So what we must let students be aware of that there is the possibility they may be cyber vetted. So let's make sure they are proud of their online brand. So what makes a digital profile stand out? First things first, let's be aware that all profiles are easily searchable on Google and all the top social media channels. So make sure the profiles are always up to date. So there's up to date information. It's not just dormant. Make sure you have your own privacy. So they must protect themselves just there as well. It's important that all students have this consistent message across the channels. If you imagine the channels here being Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok to Twitter and LinkedIn, they must be a consistent. You can't be a party animal on Instagram or and then a priest on LinkedIn. There must be this consistency and authenticity. Therefore, your communication skills. There must be credibility, so you must make sure that you are credible. So what you put about yourself is authentic, is credible, is real, and can be checked. And what students must understand that everything they do online, everything they share, every time they update or post or take images, straight away that will add to their digital tattoo, so it has that permanency and it can be checked and seen by future universities and future employers. So what I tend to say to students is, well, let's have this 5-point plan. There are things you can do. Well, why not speak to your parents and create a website that shows your interests? Blogging is so important. I personally use WordPress. It's free. I blog about my interest, which is online safety. Now, what I tend to say to students is, well, first things first, blogging creates an article that you've written. It gives you a reference which you can then put into Twitter, put into LinkedIn to make sure the right people actually see it. Have a Twitter account, have a LinkedIn account. Ages come into play here. 13 for Twitter, LinkedIn is 14 years of age. But if you've blogged and you've got that reference to an article you've written about an interest, you can then actually put that link to the article into Twitter, into LinkedIn. And of course, in Twitter and LinkedIn, you can find leaders of an industry that you're interested in, or you can find the universities and the departments, and you could add to your Twitter. You can follow them. They might even follow you back. So this is what students can do, because most of them won't even bother to think of Twitter at 13 or LinkedIn at 14, but they're already members or have profiles on social media such as Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. So this social media presence has to be constantly cleaned. So keep looking at it, keep taking or deleting images. They will no doubt understand that even though you delete off your profile, it's not deleted off the internet, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be cleaned. And again, one tip I give a lot of students is, well, actually sit down with parents, trusted adults, and say, could you look at my social media profile and look at it and critique it like a future employer may, or the future admissions officer for universities. Even though they may not do it and use social software, it's worthwhile getting a second opinion. It's so important. So that's the 5-point plan. Keep cleaning social media. Actually make sure at 13 you join and create a Twitter profile and follow the leaders of the industry you want to be part of. Likewise with LinkedIn, and also keep blogging about your interests and have a website. And what's very important for students as they get into the sixth form, if they do an EPQ or an extended essay at baccalaureate style schools, then that essay or EPQ can be put into the blogging, and therefore you can give a reference to it for people to see from Twitter and LinkedIn. One thing about cleaning the social media profiles is there's a wonderful search that Google offer, which is called a Google social search. And you can see here that you can actually check all those areas of social media to do a full search on your name, your email account, etc., to find out exactly what's there. One of the other things I also mention is to students is take an image from an Instagram, an image of the individual from the Instagram account, put that into Google and search Google Images. That way you can find out whether or not anybody else is using your image and might be on a fake profile. So above all, the advice I'll always give to students is don't be this digital dummy. Be smart. Digital gossip. Don't be negative about yourself or other people. Digital weak source. Choices. What choices are you making about where you search? And of course, images. Don't be this digital diva that's forever just posting images, not really caring about what they portray about you as an individual. They will be seen at a later stage. Don't be this digital daredevil or going to sites or trying different areas, and part of that might be the dark web. It's not illegal, but what are you looking at? A digital creeper, which is streaming and searching, and what are you putting out there? Make sure it is authentic, credible and consistent. Don't be this mean girl or mean boy. So make sure your postings are kind, they are respectful. Try not to have too much digital baggage. We all have digital baggage. Just make sure you don't have too much of it. So get a second opinion. Ask a trusted adult. Ask a parent. If you can, ask a teacher or tutor at school, especially when you get into sixth form and you're starting to apply for universities or even work. If you start to look at LinkedIn, well, the minimum age is 14. It is the world's largest network on the internet with over 700 members. Now here, for me, as I said, I think all students should join at 14, and I think they should join it with parental involvement and also school involvement. Now, be very careful here that I will say to students, don't follow or try and add teachers or members of the school. That's a no-no. My advice to teachers, you would always actually say no, but they can follow. The chances are the school will have one or the school alumni will have one. But networking is crucial here. So at 14, they can start to follow leaders of the industry they want to be part of, or they can start following the universities they're interested in. Some may follow back, and if they are putting articles from their own blog about certain subjects or themselves, it allows the universities and future employers to see this credible individual. So as a student, you get this credibility of being you yourself, what your interests are. You can make sure you can have this professional image by having this career appropriate headshot and a headline. Again, parental involvement is so good here because it becomes teamwork to make sure your child, your student is noticed. And as I said, they should follow individuals, companies, organizations, universities, departments that they're interested in, and they can join relevant groups. Twitter, likewise, the minimum age here is 13, but again, we all know what Twitter does. Many millions of active users, companies, universities, departments, etc. So the student or the child or the young adult can stay up to date with the industry that they're interested in. They can follow thought leaders and organizations. They can share content themselves. So it can show knowledge and interest in your field by tweeting links to relevant articles, etc. It's actually very good for study and to get other people's opinions. They can retweet, reply, or even start to direct messages to individuals or even universities. Follow leaders in your industry. Make sure we give advice to students that Twitter is an ideal place, an ideal opportunity to go and see what current universities and future employers are actually saying. What are they tweeting? What are the departments saying? And follow them. Blogging and websites, I can't stress how important they are. Obviously, I personally do blog and I have my own website. And what I say to students is there may be a small charge for websites, speak to parents about that, but blogging is free and it's exactly where they can show off their interests. Unfortunately, social media tends to be used for the two things, bullying and showing off. Here you can show off your interests. That's where your EPQs, your essays can be put into your blog, and you're able then to show articles that you may have written about a subject or a sport or an art that you are interested in. This is where the credibility aspect of your online life comes in. And if you can imagine that if a company or university is going to carry out cyber vetting, instead of just seeing the classic Instagram post, a Facebook post, suddenly you start to see how that's overtaken by the LinkedIn account, the Twitter account, the blogs, or even the website of the individuals. And that automatically means the student is creating a far more interesting public image or online image of themselves. Now, I've got many other resources available, and certainly if you go to my website, www.onlinesafetyforschools.co.uk, which you'll see in a minute, there are many resources available, free of resources available for schools. There's the online safety mantra of how students and everybody can keep safe, top tips for these young users, and also details of current popular applications that are being used, downloaded and used by students and young adults on their mobile devices. And also there's a wonderful article where I explain all these apps, what they are, what ages they should be, and giving good advice whether they should be used or not. And for schools, there's details of all the bespoke school online safety workshops I carry out for pupils, staff and parents. As promised, there's details of my website, onlinesafetyforschools.co.uk. Thank you for watching, and please make sure you stay safe and be safe online, and all my resources and my videos and webinars are free for you to download and use. Thank you again.